Hi, everybody. Hope everyone can hear me. Welcome aboard. I am one of the partners here. I'm one of the partners here at Branding and Buzzing. Branding and Buzzing is a digital and social marketing agency out of Toronto. I'm sure a lot of you know who we are. Obviously, a few things have happened in the world in the last few weeks where it feels like it's been turned upside down. So this little talk that we've put together is an opportunity for all of us to get together and really have a conversation about what the state of content creation, influencer marketing is. It's different today than it was a week ago. It's different 2 weeks ago, and next week is going to be completely different. So we put together, I think, a really nice panel of individuals. I'm going to introduce them one at a time. First, we've got Ashley. Ashley's the head of Kin Community in Canada, which develops a lot of those great campaigns that you see out there. She's leveraging the voice of creators. She's the power of content storytelling, and she works really hard with media and brands to drive that information out there for everybody. In the past few years, Kin and Chorus have successfully executed a handful of great campaigns, some of which have got some great rewards. Let's get away from Ashley. Hey, Ashley. Then we got Lauren Toyota. Lauren's been nearly a decade on network television as a host, a producer. She's made it her time to shine on YouTube with some great channels. We all know Hot for Food, which is Canada's second most watched vegan cooking show. And in real life, she cares about her passion for living consciously and creatively and in the moment. She has a cookbook, Vegan Comfort Classics, 101 Recipes to Feed Your Face. And it's a bestseller. Can we get a wave out there from Lauren? Hey. And last but not least is Jillian Harris, mother, fiance, storyteller, TV host, busy bee. She's the founder and creative director of Jillian Harris Designs, host of HGTV Love It or List It, Vancouver, and works with lots of different charities, one of them being Moms for Moms. On her blog, you'll find bright, heart-filled inspiration for food, for fashion, decor, and everyday life. And her handle's Jillian Harris. If you're joining us, please, and you're sharing on social, we've come up with the hashtag of Influencer Roundtable. So let's get started. So I got some questions right away that we're going to jump right in, and we're going to start first with Ashley. Ashley, how best can brands and agencies rethink the role of a content creator during this and future partnerships? Oh, 1 second, Ashley, you're muted. 1 second, everybody. Oh, the Zoom meetings, aren't they the best?
Okay, sorry, it wasn't allowing me to unmute myself. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how best can brands and agencies alike rethink the new role or the role of a content creator during this situation and in future partnerships?
Yeah, so I think it goes both ways for both brands and creators. And I think right now the key thing is to have empathy. So both creators and brands at the moment are going to be in tough spots. You're going to see that brands, for the most part, their revenue is down. But on the creator side, they're probably going to be getting less deals as well, as the demand is down there too. So I think that coming together and collaborating is going to be more important than ever. And I think the way that brands look at creators is really important. And so on Kin's side, we've been in the business for about 10 years. And we've never looked at creators just as talent. For us, they've always been producers, storytellers, community builders, entertainers, stylists, curators. And so there's a lot you can do to tap into them for more than just reach, frequency, and engagement. And I think creator marketing is going to be a really great place for brands to still be able to play and still be able to get their message out. The great thing about creator marketing is social engagement is up more than ever. People are looking for community. They're looking for one-to-one connection. And creators are very nimble. They can change their creative quite quickly. They can even change their copy after it's posted. So it's a really efficient use of production dollars, because whereas a lot of partners right now won't be able to produce new content because of isolation, creators are different. They're isolated all in one, shooters and editors, and really can be tapped into for that. So I think for brands who have previously used them more of transactional relationships and have really just thought about them more for their reach, I think it's rethinking that relationship and how these creators can be more involved with your brand building and what other talents you can use them for, so that you're still able to invest in this space and that you both can win in this, but that you can produce more value for less.
Great. We got some more. Thanks. That's really insightful. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that coming down the pipe where things are shifting and changing and looking at content creators in a different role. Jillian, I'm going to throw one to you. What was your first initial reaction to this crisis, and how do you see it impacting your business experience currently?
Well, my first, I mean, I don't know if I'm alone, but my first reaction when it first started outside of business was like, there's no way this is happening. And it's something like this could never impact me. So, there's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on in the world that you sometimes get desensitized to the news. And it was literally our drive from Calgary back to Kelowna that you're reading the news and you're seeing the updates and you see how people are being affected. This is like right when they started the lockdown, and I was like, my first instinct was personally, how are my parents? How are my friends and family going to be doing? How is this going to affect the economy? Are we going to get sick? You obviously stress out about it, but we got home on the Saturday, and Monday morning, my first instinct was, how are my employees? How is my team? Because that is when people were running to the grocery stores and there was no bread, there was no toilet paper. My team is very dedicated. They work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Even though they work from home, they still ask me permission to go to the dentist. I'm like, do whatever you want. You can work from home. I don't care what you do during the day as long as the work gets done. So my first things was like, okay, first of all, everybody go to the grocery store this morning. Please take care of your mental health. That was the biggest thing for me, was everybody's mental health. And I worried about my business mostly with my messaging, because people know that I'm loose-lipped. They know that I have no filter. And sometimes that can, get influencers in trouble. Oh my gosh, did everybody see what poor Ariel Sharness is going through? I mean, there are ways that you can, pardon my language, screw yourself over, even if you're not a bad person, even if you didn't intend it. I'm assuming nobody here is a politician. Nobody's been trained in how to deal with global pandemics. We all are different in how we deal with sadness, crisis, stress, anxiety. And so my biggest thing was like, okay, how am I going to communicate to my community differently or the same? How will it be received? And how is my team doing? And can I afford, I have 2 brand new employees that just started less than a month ago. Can we afford to keep them? We have a brand new office that I thought I couldn't afford to begin with, and now it just is sitting empty. So, it was stressful. However, I do believe that I accept change very well. And so for me, it was, okay, let's figure this out. Let's take it day by day, week by week, because we don't know what's going to happen. It changes. It changes so
let's
often.
talk about change for a minute. Lauren, in your world, you and I talked about a week and a half ago when we first put this thing together. We talked maybe this could be the change of influencer marketing, content creation, all of it. And you had actually had a real positive spin on things, saying that things are going to adapt, things are going to change. I even feel, and then speaking to Ashley, the same type of communication. How have you seen things change in the last few weeks, and how do you see that progression?
Well, I can speak to me personally, but I think I've seen it in general, just like as I'm also a user of the platforms. But I think, like, to echo what Jillian was saying, there can be some mistakes. Everybody's very vulnerable right now, but that's almost a good thing, because I feel like the structure in which we all exist is crumbling, and it's good, because what it's doing is it's forcing us to adapt and be resilient, be more vulnerable, which is very on side and helpful, I think, for social media and for personalities or creators, whatever you want to call that. It's like, to see the real experience is why we were all attracted to these platforms in general and why we follow people is because they are
Yep.
real, and you're getting to see that side. And I think it's removing some of that polished boundary that Instagram had created for a long time and was kind of becoming more chronic, right? This sort of curated, polished, perfect life that everybody's portraying. I think now we get a chance to see more of the real, raw, vulnerable stuff. And I personally, I've kind of, I don't think I've gotten too curated with my stuff. I try to keep it as real as I can, or as real as I feel I am, and I feel like it's real. But in some cases, I think it's good for people who may have fallen into a habit or a certain way of running what they do and posting what they do. I truly think it's good to have that crumble a little bit.
I think,
That's just my general feeling.
yeah, I think it's more, it is getting genuine. I feel like it's a backlash to when we started in the business, it was all organic looking, it was free formed and everything else. And now it's become super curated. And I feel like it's backlashing to that again. But I think one of the big questions, and this is to Ashley, let's talk about the clients. What are their expectations coming out of this? What are you seeing? You gave me some great research 2 weeks ago that was phenomenal. Can you speak to any of that, Ashley?
Yeah, so you're saying more like, how are these like trends impacting business and what brands should be looking at?
Correct.
Yeah. So I think, I really feel for all companies right now. I think the very few are not being impacted. But what is really interesting is the importance of marketing and all of the articles and research that's coming out that really talks about the importance of marketing. And so we've seen over time, like there's been lots of research and data collected that when there are big moments in time like 9/11 or the 2008 recession, it was the brands that still focused on marketing that were able to recover faster. And so the idea of brand marketing is really important, and providing value and thinking about your audience and thinking about what you need and being present. And the interesting study was showing that when brands cut their marketing budget by 100% versus cutting their budget by 50%, that the ones that cut their budget by 100% took 5 years to recover versus the ones that cut their budget by 50% took 3. So almost half the time. We've also been really active in market. So as you mentioned, Chorus acquired us in April. So we've got a really big research and marketing team. And so we've been in market, really trying to understand what the impact of COVID has been to the economy, to purchase, like people's purchases, to their train of thought. And what we're seeing is that we really do think that once people start spending again, that the economy will recover fast. So 40% of respondents said that, although they may have cut purchases right now, they're already thinking about what they want to purchase once this recovers. And from like both studies that we've done, as well as I've seen from things that Kantar did with China and some other places, which is the only place right now that actually is more in that closer stage to recovery, so is the best model that we can look at. People were saying that they would probably make those purchases quickly within weeks to early months. So it's important that brands aren't completely cutting their marketing spend right now, because if people forget about you, as soon as they are in that purchase mode again, that they're unlikely then to think about your brand, because they're going to remember the brands that made the impact during this time of crisis. And I think it is important, though, that brands are sensitive, that they're mindful of their tone, that they're not tone deaf, and that I see a lot of brands getting very involved in how they can help with this crisis. You see a lot of companies shifting what they're providing in terms of value, and with crisis comes chaos, comes innovation. So we're seeing that that's what brands are doing, and I can speak later as well to what creators can do in terms of innovation too, and how they can repivot their brand. But then as well, we're seeing e-commerce is on the rise, like both with whether it's Grocery Gateway or Amazon or other things, like when people are purchasing where they may have gone in store, they're now getting curbside delivery, or they're using e-commerce. And so with e-commerce being on the rise, I think it's really important for brands now more than ever to think about what their e-commerce strategy is and how they're servicing that need. And creator marketing provides a really good solution for that, because it is a direct
awesome points. So to one of the things you said, it was you used the word pivot. We've all been hearing that lately. I've been seeing some content creators, influencer marketing completely turn off. I've seen odd messaging. Jillian, what are some of the reasons, or what are some of the things that you are doing to change and pivot your messaging? Or are you pivoting your messaging? Obviously, if you're planning a trip to Mexico and that was part of your plan, that's out. Talk to us about what it's like to pivot, what brands and your audiences are saying about that.
You know, we've always, as a brand, we've always tried to have like a really healthy matrix of topics and areas that we like to talk about with our community. So for us, it may be fashion, food, family, charity, travel, lifestyle, decor, whatever it is. And we every month we get together and we talk about those different categories and what kind of content we're going to create for those. And we always talk a lot about like organic content versus selling content. And I'm sure a lot of you are already doing this, but it is really important to take a look at that matrix and take a look at what you typically talk about, and if that is still relevant right now, and how you can continue to talk about it without being tone deaf. For us, you know, we've always had a strong charitable component to our brand. That's just something that has been a core part of our business. And if you haven't had that, it's okay. Some people, you know, I see once in a while these messages like, you know, you could give back to charity without posting about it, just do it privately. But I disagree with that, because it's a feel good moment. It's not meant to brag. It's meant to inspire other people to do the same thing. It's meant to make people feel good. And so in this time, you know, okay, so we might have a partnership with Wine BC, and, you know, I get a couple cases of wine, and normally we would charge them to promote that. But I feel really grateful right now that at this point in time, might change, financially, we feel like we're okay and we're going to get through this. So I said, you know what? This was a new partnership. I didn't plan on it a month ago. Why don't, instead of paying us, why don't you donate $3,000 to the food bank, and I'll do the story anyways. And for me, I felt like that was an investment in my relationship with them that showed I wanted to support them. I wanted to support the community. I wanted to work with them. So hopefully, you know, 6 months, a year down the road, when they get a big budget for something else, they'll come back to me. And yes, it would have been nice to have the $3,000 or $5,000 from my own company to have that cushion. But I feel like the investment is more, it's a bigger investment right now to say, okay, so maybe as an influencer, you can't afford to make nothing. We have to remember, this is a job as well. This is a job. And so a lot of influencers, this is your main family income, or you're the breadwinner, or you're a single mom, or you've decided to stay at home to do this. And so if you have a job, you still have to pay your bills. So you really have to be realistic with yourself as to what you can afford as a business and as an individual. And you do not have to feel guilty about continuing to run your business. But you can shift the way you communicate it and how you deliver your messaging so that you're not tone deaf, and you do have empathy, and you do show you care. So, you know, asking partnerships and brands to do giveaways, or to donate a little bit extra to charity, so that you can bring a feel good component to that, and instead of having to feel like you're profiting from the situation, the situation is allowing you to give back more. And so
community driven stuff, I think, is what we're seeing.
Totally, yeah. So yeah,
you brought up a really good point about being the breadwinner, and this is a job, and I think that, you know, brands understand that, and you're right. You are right. We're on the brand side. We are remembering those that are stepping up to the plate and helping out and altruistic, and I understand making money. But one of the things you did talk about is, you know, your job and that you're home and the rest of it. Lauren, I'm going to give you this question, because you've been through change. Your career, you've seen the ebbs and flows of career changes. Something like this happens. We've got people on this call that do great business, and their business has changed completely. Can you give us some ideas of how people cope with this new world, and things that you've been through from experience of how you rethink what your future looks like?
Yeah. To give anybody context quickly, I used to work in television, so I've been laid off because of recession, because of financial changes in the industry twice. And then that's how I ended up doing this career and running my own business. So I've been through it twice, and now I feel like this is like the third wave of that in a way, although I do feel like mentally and emotionally and spiritually, I'm so much more equipped to handle this. And so from my experience in high, it really is a mental exercise and a perspective thing and an energetic thing. Because when I first lost my job in television, it was my dream job. And if there are any new creators out there, you know, this might be something you started in the last couple of years and you really felt like you were making strides, and now the rug's been pulled out from under you. And I've been through that. And at the first time it happened, I did not handle it well. I was kind of like a little bit in my ego about it, like, this dream job that I manifested, that I spent years and years creating, it's gone. Now what do I do? And you're in shock and you're angry and all that stuff. And it's still good to go through those emotions. But I guess through my second experience and now my third experience is like, the quicker you can shift your perspective and be open to opportunity and look at this big unknown space as an opening for you to step into something new. Understand that you're adaptable, that you're a survivor, that you can thrive during this, that you can build your own momentum, is really important. And it's really, truthfully, just a mental and an emotional check-in daily, moment by moment, and figuring out other tools that you might not realize actually do affect your business, things like exercise and meditation and taking time for yourself, that are going to exponentially help you on the business side. And that's what I have found in the last 5 years, is that the more I actually focus on that stuff and less about numbers and money, the numbers and money tend to grow without me feeling, do you know what I mean? Like, it actually is more of like, it is more of an energetic spiritual exchange, if I'm being quite honest. So checking in with how you are feeling in your emotions and working with that. But also, I understand, like Jillian saying, you do still have to run a business, but something that I've noticed for me personally is that this crisis has, it pushes you in a direction, right? Just like losing my job pushed me to kind of start Hot for Food full time. It's like, this has pushed me in a direction that feels really organic and authentic. It's actually brought me back around to the beginning. I feel like it's a weird cycle where I'm like at the beginning of my entrepreneur career. Like, even my content is more reflective of what it was like when I first started. And when I first started, I was in that same kind of like hungry, let's play around, let's see what happens, very naive, like adventurous mentality. And I think that's important to kind of go back to like why you started this, what you're passionate about. Have you lost the fun in any way? Because I can definitely relate to the fact that once it becomes a business, it starts becoming less and less fun. And the more it becomes about dealing with brands and budgets and negotiating, the less fun it is. And I felt like in the last 3 to 4 weeks, I'm like, wow, it feels like 2014 again when I first started this. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just playing and I was trying stuff and I was asking my audience and I was involving them a lot. And the response to that has been really positive. Everybody has just said, thank you for like doing this. This is exactly what I needed. And I'm so glad they've even noticed this feels like you from.
And that's a big thing, I think. I think that this pivot that goes on, and I am from the agency side and represent brands, and I acknowledge that we have become more and more prescriptive with our content creators and our influencers to the point that sometimes it doesn't resonate as well with the audience. I'm going to come to Ashley on this next part, because I think all of us coming out of this are going to together figure out what this new world looks like. I am one agency with a few clients. Ashley, you're talking to brands on an ongoing basis. I'm sure you're hearing what Lauren's saying. How do you feel brands are pivoting with this? And do you think that they are going to be okay with this resurgence of social being what it is?
Yeah, so there's a couple of points that Jillian and Lauren brought up that I think is interesting. Like, I think right now, you know, a couple of things. One, we're noticing that yes, social content engagement is on the rise, but what's also interesting is that the viewing of COVID content is going down. So people are spending more time online, but they're desperate for entertainment and fun and to laugh and to learn. And so I think it's really important that we're thinking about those values and how we can give back. And so for all branded content, as well as for organic content, you know, we've been instructing both our client partners as well as our creative partners, like, let's take a look at the trends, like, let's see what people are looking for, let's give back to that. And, you know, when this first came about, one of the big questions we had was, okay, but is branded content going to seem insensitive? Like, if we involve a brand are people going to feel offended by that, or is now the time? Because we're very protective of our creators' image and their brand and their brand building, and as well as our clients, and making sure that they don't do damage to their brand. So we immediately put a poll out to our network that to ask their audiences to ask honestly, like, if I were to give you value, how do you feel about branded content at this time? And it was overwhelming, the responses that all of the different creators across different verticals got. And on average, 86% of people said, yes, we welcome normal content and we welcome branded content if it's going to provide value. They recognize that creators are businesses and that they get this content for free. And that the creators are people too. And so it's really important to them that brands are still supporting them during this time, and that, you know, they don't go hungry, and that they can put food on the table, and that they can continue to provide the joy and the inspiration that creators do as creators are providing this community and this support. And I think, you know, to Jillian's point, it doesn't always have to be a charity initiative, but it's about the communication. So, you know, I still think it's important that, as I said before, that brands and creators have empathy. Creators are getting less deals, but brands' budgets are lower. So, like, think about how you can do more. But as well, I think it's just like being human, that honesty, that transparency, and just being very honest and being human and saying things like, you know, it feels a bit weird to do sponsored content at a time like this. But I really like brand X because of X, Y, and Z. And I really appreciate them supporting me in this. And I've thought a lot about what you guys have been asking for, and you know, me and this brand have seen that you're asking for this content. And so I put a lot of time into this, and I hope you like it. The other thing is, like, acknowledging the people that can't. There are going to be people that lost their jobs, and there are going to be people that lost more than that, but, like, you know, thinking and trying to be inclusive. So instead of hard messages like, this is a great deal or buy now, thinking about that softer, again, humanized messaging. Like, I know not everyone is in the position to purchase right now, but for those that are interested, you know, I really like X. And then thinking about content that's relatable and provides that ability for people to stay at home without having that really, you know, aggressive messaging of you know, berating people or being disappointed in people. It's more thinking about how you bring joy and how you inspire. And so instead of bashing people, it's thinking about that great content, like, you know, date nights at home, activities to do with your kids. We bought all these pantry staples now that we've stocked up on, like, how do we use them? Freezer meals, baking is blowing up. So taking a look at what people are demanding, and whether it's to learn, to laugh, or just to feel connected, making that your
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit more. So you've given it from sort of the brand side of things. The people that have to execute this on the ground to their audiences are Lauren and Jillian. So branded content, does your audience find it offensive? Do they like what you're doing still? Are you getting any backlash? I'll leave it to either one of you to just jump in.
You go first, Lauren, and I'll piggyback off you.
Okay. I haven't found any backlash. I've only done a couple, maybe one branded thing since this started, and it was with Diva Cup, which, I mean, how can you get mad at somebody for promoting Diva Cup? Sort of how I felt
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like as it was unfolding, it was actually meant to come out when this wasn't happening, but then this happened. So I was able to work with Diva Cup and sort of say, given the change here, here's what we plan on doing. And they were obviously open to still continuing on and listening to sort of the feedback and how we felt it might best work. In that particular case, I felt like, okay, this is a soft sell anyways. This is like a really good self-care tool. It's environmentally friendly. Like, it's got all these pluses. It's like, I don't really see this being offensive in any way. So that was an easy decision as to go forward. I just did something with a vitamin company, Ritual, and this is my second time working with them. So they've come back for repeat business. And again, it was a decision, easy. It's like, I'm using this product. I like this product. It's easy, everyday thing. When I say soft sell, I mean, I just feel like it's like, because it's authentically something I'm using, it's not like you have to really think about that. And I think a lot of influencers are probably like guilty of like taking on certain brand partnerships that maybe aren't entirely authentic, but they seem like flexible enough that it makes sense to promote given a certain climate, and maybe now you have to rethink that. I don't think in all cases it will work, and so you really have to discern that for yourself. And I think for me, I'm a big gut person, and it's just like, does it feel icky? Does it feel good? It's just, the answer. And if you're trying to force it, otherwise you're going to run into trouble,
And
whether there's a crisis or not.
And you know what? I find bouncing ideas off of people in your community, or maybe a friend or family, helps as well, because sometimes I know Tyler, my agent who's on this call, will come to me with a partnership, and I'm like, I think I like it, but I'm not sure how the messaging would work and whatnot. And then I have a conversation with the team, and I'm like, I actually think this is a great partnership. Have you thought of this, or this? And this is a great way to weave in the content. And I'm like, oh, that is such a great idea. I really love that. So, like you say, Lauren, you sometimes have this like instinct, like, oh, should I be doing this or should I not be doing it? And I think that's a really great time to think about it, sleep on it. I'm not saying that you would definitely, I think that this is a time that if you can work, you should work. And Birds Papaya posted something really profound the other day, and I really feel it as well, because right now I'm taking a lot of time. I've only done 2 kind of sponsored posts as well since this started, and they both involved giveaways, and one was for sweatpants and the other one was for wine. So just like the Diva Cup, we need those things right now. But maybe not the wine as much as the Diva Cup, because you could probably live without one or the other. I'd probably live without the Diva Cup over the wine, but
Full disclosure, I have no idea what a Diva Cup is.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's like a little cup that you stick in your vagina, and then when you have your period, it like goes into the cup, and then you don't have to put a tampon in, and then you just pull out the cup and dump the blood, and
it's
that's
amazing.
it.
Okay, wow.
Sean,
you look impressed.
Great, awesome.
See, you can't get mad at that. You're
have it all day long. Ladies, all day long. You all divas, take your cup and do what you do. Lovely. Great job. Promote that out there. Everyone on the call, let's start hitting the chat with some questions, because we're going to hit them up. I'm going to do one more prescripted question. Ashley, this is for you. If you could predict the future of content creation, influencer marketing, what do you want it to look like? Because you're really the conduit between the brands and the content creators. What do you want it to look like this future?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting, because with any crisis, we see innovation, as I mentioned. And I think that you see a lot of great companies that have evolved during times of crisis. So Airbnb, Disney, Slack, Fortune 500, Uber, these were all companies that came out of a time of crisis because people saw gaps in the market that needed to be filled. So I think that what we will learn is that creators for themselves, I think that they'll learn that they have new talents, they'll experiment with new formats. As Lauren was saying, they'll go back to the fun. TikTok, for example, is exploding right now because it gives joy. It's fun. It's a great escape. And I've seen a lot of our creators starting to reinvent themselves with it, and like really start to see the fun out of it again. So I hope that this, gives people a chance to pause, take a break, to look at their business, to look at why they're doing things, and to have fun with things again. Because I think sometimes that in the essence of making money and watching your view count and watching your follower count, there comes a point of anxiety and stress and tension. And then really at the end of the day, like, again, we've been in this for 10 years. Back then, people didn't start anything to become famous or to make money. It was really about having a passion and doing something because they found joy in it. And my hope is that, and going back to this, we go back to where this started, which is where I think there's a lot of integrity and innocence in a way to it, where people were creating their businesses because they loved something so much they wanted to share it, and developing these really like honest communities versus like the fame and fortune. And it's interesting because 10 years ago, we didn't use the word influencer. It was not a term that we even used. It was the word we used was creator. And I think creator is now starting to come back into the mix, but we look to these people for their imagination, for their creativity, for their expertise. And so I think that through this time that this space has become commoditized, it's become very transactional. And I think the value of the raw talent that creators bring has become overshadowed and lost. And you see a lot of the conversations being like, well, what's the follower count? How much engagement am I going to get? How many views? What's my ROI? as opposed to looking at them as real businesses and really thinking more, how do I leverage these people to help build my brand in a meaningful way and tap into this expertise that they have in a more strategic way than just trying to get mass promotion that may feel really inauthentic. So rethinking creative units, rethinking how we're connecting and engaging, rethinking authenticity, and rethinking talent is what I hope comes out of this.
Awesome. Well, great way to segue into our questions, because I agree with you. And there wasn't a name for content creators in the old days. When we first started, we would say, send the message out to the tweeters. They'll get everybody to do it. And the tweeters loved it because they had, if it was events, they would have the inside scoop and they could jump the line and there was all this fun stuff. And if you said, hey, can you do it 3 or 4 times? Well, now you're asking me to do something. Okay, I'm asking, I'll give you some money to do that. And it seemed very authentic and it's gone so prescriptive. And I really do think it's going to bounce back. So Marion's put a screen up. Thanks, Marion, who's running the show in the background, for doing her best to be the producer. She's our little co-host in the corner, Marion, my partner here. Jillian, there's a question straight up for you. In your experience, how should we as a small business, so this is right from the chat, approach PR companies and brands that are coming to us asking for charitable posts, free content to promote their small business? What kind of recommendations? I know where this is coming from. What do you feel the best way to address that is with these companies?
Before I answer, can you give me like a vague example? Like, is this like a brand saying, just give me just an example? Like,
well, this came from the chat box, but I'm going to assume that this is like a small business in your neighborhood looking to get some free content to promote other businesses that they're working on. So I think it's your approach that we're looking for. If you can give some recommendations.
So I always take
sensitive, right?
Yeah, I always take these kinds of requests. There's no formula for me because sometimes I will give this brand so much exposure and stories and everything, and people are assuming that I'm getting paid, but I just truly love it. Like, say, like Nala deodorant or Surf Soak or whatever it is. I just really truly love that product. But I always, regardless of whether I'm getting paid or not, I always love the product. But it really depends. I always think about what my capabilities are. Like, I was making some notes. I don't know how many influencers on here are moms that now don't have any childcare, but I'm actually not finding this a time where I have a lot of spare time to like take up TikTok or try something new. We have 6 employees and we have to, you have conversations with lawyers and there's the Jilly box and then there's marketing and then there's, actual meetings you have to have. And then before you know it, my 3.5-hour day is done. It's done. And then I'm with my kids. And I noticed in the first few weeks of this quarantine, I was on my phone, I was sharing this, I was sharing that, which I'm sure all of my followers love, but guess who doesn't love it? My kids. They don't love it. They want me off my phone. And I had to make a huge shift just this week and go like, okay, when my shift is done, I have to try to start to put my phone down more. Not to say I'm not getting a story at all, but I have to stop being an influencer and be a mom. And that lasts until after dinner time. And after dinner time, then it's my time with Justin. And then I'm done. I'm in bed. And the day repeats itself. So for me, I've been struggling just lately, keeping on top of like, okay, I want to give back to charity. I want to help small businesses, but I also want to keep my company afloat. This is my schedule. So I really think you have to prioritize and you have to allow yourself. I think giving back to small businesses right now is very important. And what I've been trying to do is just, without being asked, every day try to find a way that I can promote a handful of small businesses. And I really think it has to be your prerogative, it has to be your decision. It is kind of uncomfortable when brands are coming to you saying, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I think you have to decide, okay, is my work done? Is my family fed? How do I feel? Do I have time for this? Okay, great. I'm going to schedule this, or schedule it in your day, schedule it in your week, where you say Fridays, I'm going to take 30 minutes on Fridays to go through these requests and figure out how many I can fit in those 30 minutes. I do think it's very important to support small businesses right now. I'm hearing from a lot of people. Thank you so much for posting about my mugs. Thank you so much for posting about my online store. It made a huge difference. This is keeping us open. we really need this right now. And so when you hear that, it feels good because you're keeping the economy going. You're keeping people from closing up their shops. You're helping build relationships with, hopefully one day it will turn into a paying relationship. I just had an offer come in this morning for a project, and it was a lot of money for one Instagram and a story. And it's my standard rate. But I said to my agent, that's really nice of them, but I'd like to actually make 25 to 30% less, and they can share that money with more influencers or with themselves or with charity or whatever. So, I'm really trying to find ways that I can give back. It makes me feel good, and I hope it helps build those relationships. But I do think it's important to give back to small businesses, but we also have to know when to say no and to create those boundaries. Because for me personally, I got to a point in the last 3 weeks where I was feeling like manic. I was trying to do all the stuff. I was trying to recreate myself. I was trying to do a TikTok. How are my employees doing? Trying to get on top of my emails, trying to like keep the house clean, get my kids fed. And it's just impossible. And so I just had to.
It has really changed, not to cut you off, but I've done some calls and some Zooms, and you really get a snapshot into people's lives and how it's turned upside down. I was dealing with an executive on a call who is very structured in the past. She's center of authority, and then she's on a call with me, and the kids are in the background, and then she turns into mom mode, and you suddenly have this real feeling of this is what these people are going through, and it's not even in your space. So I think everyone has to appreciate that the times are shifting and changing. And we've all talked a little bit about, can everyone see the questions on the screen right now that Marion's been putting in? Yeah, okay. So here's one for Lauren. Someone said here, I've had some success with TikTok. How do you see TikTok affecting us in the future?
We'll answer that, but quickly, I just want to add to what Jillian was saying, because for that question, I actually feel like if you're a small business in the community, I feel like your best option is to reach out to your community and your customers for free promotion. It might look appealing to approach influencers because they have all this reach, but if I'm not a customer of what you do, don't cold approach us and ask for free promotion, because that just seems desperate and weird, if I'm being honest. Reach out to your community through social and engage them, because they're at home right now. Like maybe they can pick up your food and share it on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like organic user generated content, like just because they're not influencers, they're customers, they're more powerful. They use you, they're devoted to you, they come to you every day, and now they're not. So how can you still be connecting with them daily and getting them to spread your message about whether it's you're doing takeout orders, you're doing these giveaways, you're doing delivery, curbside pickup, or whatever that might be. I think that customers are actually more valuable than an influencer community.
And sorry,
Lauren, on that point too, I just wanted to also add, I think that's a great point and a great idea for small businesses. And I also just wanted to flag for the brands and agencies on this call, because we've been on the receiving end of dozens and dozens of those requests because we represent so many creators. And I think that, if a creator is, talking about like 7 different charity initiatives, it no longer becomes authentic either. Like it starts to become very strange. So what I would encourage brands and agencies to do is to work with fewer, bigger. And so I think if brands are coming up with these new initiatives to give back to the community, that's an amazing thing. And I think that will go really far. But then think of, okay, I'm going to have this budget. I'm going to like donate, X to charities or do these different things, but then I'm going to pay select creators, but then talk to them about what maybe more they can do. So for example, on our end, if it's a charity initiative, we might be giving like a 1-to-1 value right now. So the person's still getting paid. They still have the ability to partner in a real way. But then on our end, we can give more value so that everybody wins. So I think that there's ways to reposition that, but you have to be mindful of not being involved in too many charity initiatives, because all of a sudden it will start to feel very cluttered and you won't sound authentic, and the brands that are working with you, their message will get lost too. So just thinking strategically.
Yeah, I'll add an example to that too. We worked with a celebrity chef many years ago at the agency, and he said that charities would come at him nonstop, and he's like, I want to help every single person. And at the time, I don't know if this is still reflective of that, he would say, I'm picking this one charity and I will do everything I can, and that will be my charity of choice.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you commit to one or 2 initiatives, and you commit hard, and you commit to the ones that are the ones that work with you. It's different for like if you like love a coffee shop and or just talk in general on your feed about things like buying gift cards to the places that you love, and like generally talking about supporting small business, I think it's really important to be doing that. But in terms of like committing yourself to something, it's good not to spread yourself too thin. So Sean, that's a great example.
Great. And I've noticed we're getting a lot of stuff coming in through TikTok. So I think that, you know, a lot of things are happening at the same time and colliding together. Let's have a little bit of a discussion around TikTok. It is the Instagram of today, right? So let's talk it on two parts. One, content creators, talk to me about your opinion of TikTok, and then Lauren, tell me how we can monetize this.
Okay, well, I don't use TikTok.
Lauren,
I do not.
How you make it.
Oh, I was just trying to see if I could find Lauren Toyota on TikTok.
I don't use TikTok, so
I'm obsessed
I wanted
with
to.
TikTok.
And what do you
Okay,
even
well,
call
like
TikTokers or techies or what do you call it?
TikTokers.
TikTokers?
So,
okay. Yeah, sure.
I just
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think I just joined like last week or the week before. I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious. I think it's feel good. I'm still trying to figure out how to use the app. I just personally have, well, first of all, I'm a horrible dancer and singer, so that I have going against me. But I just have not had the time, and maybe I need to carve that out. But I think it's a really fun, fresh, new way to communicate for sure. But I haven't figured it out yet, so I got nothing. I'm with Lauren.
I know a lot about TikTok if anyone wants my perspective.
Yeah, Ashley, well, tell us, like, what are brands saying about it? Like, we had our first brand. We have, and I'm wondering if he's on the call, but we had we have a Mexican soda company that we represent, and I asked, like, where are we at with Snapchat and TikTok? We have we have an emerging market, and we're all looking at it right now. Where do you see it?
So yeah, like you can't monetize it the same way that you can monetize YouTube. So for example, we see YouTube really taking off in terms of ad monetization because people are spending so much more time on YouTube, and YouTube is going through the roof. So they're making money, not just on brand deals, but then through monetization. TikTok's not set up that way. However, what they're starting to do is set up a lot of ad units. So the same way that I talked about creators being content creators and creating different ad units, there is a real opportunity for creators to play in this when it comes to brand deals. The interesting thing about when you're posting is because it's a For You feed, some of your stuff might go super viral and some might not, because it's really about like the engagement, who's sharing it, who's liking it, and then what the algorithm then decides to serve it up. So it's not quite the same as when you're building Instagram and you know that people are going to be consistently coming back. It's much more hit or miss, which where brands are going to really need is like that monetization of it, so that they can make sure that they're having those guaranteed views. But in terms of getting into it, like I really encourage just spending a lot of time on it, looking at different things that you're interested in, looking for inspiration. But what I love about TikTok is it really has democratized video editing. So you can have so much fun with it. It allows you to tell a story in a very short period of time. The special effects, the music that you can play with, like it really does allow editing to be very easy. So people who might not even think they're good editors, all of a sudden can create these incredible videos. And it's really about like the rawness, the honesty. You'll see skits taking off, dancing taking off, some like cooking stuff is taking off, stuff with kids and pets people love. So I would recommend just like really diving in and seeing if like there's a passion that you have to start putting things out. And then it really is having fun with it. You're not going to get consistent views in the same way that you might on some of the other platforms. But if you create really amazing content, what we're doing is we are taking those people that we think can create great stories and partnering with them with the right brands to be able to still stay like authentic. But there's been some really great people that have done things like Taco Bell's done some really funny things. Sephora's done some great stuff. Chipotle is really heavy on TikTok. So both from a brand perspective as well as a creator perspective, it's a really interesting place to play because it's not cluttered yet.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. There's a quick one on there, and it's almost like a yes or no for Jillian and Lauren. Do you see that one there?
Yeah. Does that mean in lieu of monetary payment?
I would assume if you were to pick.
Can I see
the question again? Yeah, the question's disappeared. Hold on, Marion's bringing it back up. It says, would you prefer to get a gift box or would you prefer to get a gift card to shop on someone's e-commerce site? So I imagine there's probably someone online that has an e-commerce website. And there's a few of them. I've noticed a bunch have started up in the last little while. Great to all those people that are doing it there.
Well, 1,000%, I think a gift card. So I don't know what you, Lauren, but gifting is a huge part of our business that has actually become a strain on our business because, well, it takes, first of all, you have all these products, especially Lauren, I know you're environmentally conscious as well. You have all these products coming in your house you didn't ask for, and some of the things you already have, you don't need. Maybe it's like a shampoo, but you already have a shampoo, so you don't, then you put it, you don't want to waste it, you don't put it away, and then you have to donate it, you have to flatten the cardboard, and you have to get rid of the cardboard, and then you like, so, and then you're like, oh, I don't actually have chorus hair, and I actually can't use the Diva cup, or whatever it is. And so for me, I just always love it when brands ask, like, is there anything that would appeal to you from my site? And most of the times, if I really like something, oftentimes I will just buy it and say, I love these shoes. Let me just buy it, and I will promote it if I love it. There's other times where I say, somebody offers me something and I'm like, sure, send us a bottle of gin for the Jilly box. I would love that. But it is always great to ask an influencer, because you spend a lot of money and time buying that product, putting that product together, sending it out, shipping it out. And then what if the influencer doesn't like it or love it or want it, or it's not on brand for them? So you've wasted all that time and money, which also makes us feel sick too. When somebody sends me something and I don't love it or like it, I feel so sad for the brand, because I'm like, they were so hopeful and excited, and now I'm going to disappoint them. So it's important to ask, I think, because it could be a waste of money or time for you.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like unsolicited shipments. In my case, I think you get a lot more of it just given the lifestyle pillar you live in and the fashion and the beauty. I have luckily avoided a lot of that, and I mainly talk about food, and people sometimes want to send me samples, but I actually refuse a lot of it because I don't like getting a huge box of stuff that I can't eat. I got to give it away anyways. So I've managed to keep it under control where I actually don't get a lot of stuff, and I prefer that personally. Even when brands say, even if I'm actually doing a partnership and they want to send me a whole box of the product, I say, no, I'll just go to the store and buy 2 because that's all I need for the photo or whatever.
Well, and especially when it comes to food, they're sending it in these big boxes that have like styrofoam and dry ice and all this kind of stuff. So I'm the same way. If somebody wants to send me a new ice cream, I'm like, well, can you get it at the grocery store? Can I just grab it the next time I go? But yeah, no, I do agree. And, gifting is awesome. Like, I think gifting has changed a lot. I think influencers are feeling the same way. I mean, when you're just up and starting, it's kind of exciting to get things, and I still want to get packages. I'm like, oh, what's it going to be? But we do have a system now where we say, like, we ask what it is so that we can make sure we would use it or promote it, and then we say there's no guarantee. So if there's no guarantee, so let me grab it, let me see if we like it, and then if I don't post about it, it may be because I'm busy that week, or because we just didn't have enough time, or maybe we didn't like it after all. So there is no guarantee with
I think the only guarantee is the cash. If you get paid for it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like sending something that's almost this like unspoken thing of like, you're going to post about it, but that needs to go away because that's not what's going to happen.
We don't actually,
unfortunately. So you're better off qualifying that lead and making sure you're getting something in return, if at all, and if not, then go somewhere else.
And I think also for brands, for me, I don't like engaging in a partnership until I've actually tried that item. So for them, the messaging could say, like, we're really interested in working with you. I've got this product that I would love for you to try. Is this something you think you'd like? And if you like it, then maybe we can talk about a partnership or how we can engage with you. And so that way, as an influencer, you feel like they're interested in investing in, this is a product I would like to try, and then you don't feel as guilty. Oftentimes when I get it, I always say there's no pressure, but 80% of the time I do try to do a story about it anyways, because I know a lot of these brands are really hopeful and really, really excited, but that's why we try to limit the amount of gifting. But it is, I think, to answer the question, it's important for the influencer to choose the item, I think.
Cool. All right, so we're wrapping up. Mary said there's a ton of questions in the queue, but this one seems to be popping up. We're looking, as we sort of end up our call, or Zoom here, we're zoomed out. Can we just get a little piece of advice from everybody, a little what we can do when we're on the other side of this to prepare for it?
I feel like my advice is kind of to echo what Ashley said about the brands that were resilient through a crisis and continued with marketing and didn't shy away or go silent are the ones that survived on the other side. And I feel like that's going to be the case here. Of course, your mental health is the most important. So obviously not feeling enormous pressure to have to perform right now or do more than you feel is necessary. But I really don't advise going silent or shying away right now if you can help it. And perhaps that means spinning your content in a way where you can, if you feel comfortable sharing a new side of yourself, that could be helpful when we're on the other side of this. You may capture people's attention that you wouldn't have otherwise. And so finding a balance between, yes, taking care of yourself and dealing with what you need to deal with and feeling it all, but also just recognizing that there is a big opportunity here, I think, and that figuring out your own unique way to step into it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Lauren. And I think right now is really focusing on building relationships with brands in your community. So if you don't have any sponsored content, how can you support brands that you love? How can you support your community? Because the brands and the community are equally as important. So how can you show love and trust and community and empathy to both sides? If you don't have any partnerships right now and you're kind of wondering what should I do, that would be the time to look at all the brands that you've really wanted to work with or that you really love and give them a little love, or see how you can help share their content. And then with your community, how can you engage with them, get that one-to-one content, show that you care, show that you love them. And one thing that we talked about earlier, but I don't know if I ever really answered it, was how to deal with negative feedback if you are posting sponsored content. So I've got the Jilly box that's launching next week that I have to sell. We've got the product, we've had it here since before the COVID. It would be a waste not to sell it. Some people are still shopping. We may not sell all of them, but jobs rely on it. Small businesses are relying on it. We have to move forward with it. But you have to remember a few things. A lot of brands are very thankful for this content right now, and it's keeping people employed and it's keeping the economy going. Like Ashley said, you can always tell people, I know this is a strange time. If you can't afford this, please understand that I'm with you. I'm thinking of you. If you haven't lost your job and you really enjoy shopping, this might be something that's for you. But how to deal with those comments is with a little bit of love, a little bit of understanding that people are a little stressed out right now. They have a lot of anxiety. Always assume goodwill. You can apologize and remind them that you are a business and that you're really excited about supporting these other businesses. And I just want to say to influencers out there, just like what Lauren said, you don't have to go away and be silent right now just because you're afraid of getting crapped on, for lack of a better word. I have 1.1 million followers, so I get crapped on no matter what I post about. I can post about charity and somebody said something bad, and I can post about whatever, but you just have to take those things with a grain of salt and always either ignore or respond and say, I'm really working really hard to try to balance everything right now and continue to run my family and work with brands that I love, and I understand this is a difficult time and I really feel for you, but please bear with me. Please don't go. I'm trying to balance organic content with also keeping my business alive, and I hope you really understand. And just trying to explain, I think it's really important because you got into this job because you loved it and you're a creator and you want to be creative. And I would just hate for anybody to throw in the towel now because they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble for doing what they love and earning a dollar. I mean, it's
Ashley,
okay. What you're doing is okay.
Any piece of advice, any last bits of wisdom from the agent that is going to broker and make sure they're all doing this?
I think it's just, this will end. I know it seems sometimes unbearable, and it's important not to be necessarily like thinking, is this going to be 3 months, 6 months, and like getting the anxiety. I think right now it's just recognizing this will end. And if we persevere and stay united as a community, we will get through this. And as Canadians coming together, we will get through this. And so it's focusing on joy, happiness, sanity, connection, and really, as Lauren has mentioned earlier, like just doing what you love and making sure that what you're doing brings you happiness. And then just also seeing, like, as you're looking to bring value to the people around you, what are those things that people are looking for, and you tools like Google and Google search to see what is spiking right now, and then think like, is that something that I'm interested in? Could I add value in that? Like, do I love baking? Do I love home workouts? Like, you know, things like even cutting your own hair has grown by 4,000%. So like, you think about just certain things that people are desperate for, and it's like, maybe, you know, how can you contribute in different ways that it's a talent of yours, and it's a time to be building community right now. So I think it's all about self-love and community.
Thank you, everybody, and everyone that's on board. Thanks for everyone. Ashley, Lauren, Jillian. This is the wrap. I think that the sense of community that we're all hearing is very key. I've seen, and we're in the food and beverage space, and we've seen restaurants been devastated and closed, and we've seen a whole community of both brands and influencers rallying around. And I think we're all going to everyone's point, we're all going to get through this together. But thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming on. This will be uploaded to YouTube. What else do I got in here? The hashtag influencer roundtable will be being sent around. Thanks, everybody. Go and be safe. You know, stay inside. Order from your favorite restaurant.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Have fun, everybody.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.